Good evening, Brother Sean. Joseph,
Good evening, my brother. How
welcome
you
to
doing,
Share
man?
Your Faith.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you on tonight. I was just trying
It's
to touch base with
God.
my host for tonight, but he's just leaving work. Nonetheless,
Okay.
I will conduct the interview tonight. Um,
It's all right.
so, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you. I would still consider you to be young, and you're looking young. You don't have the grace that I have in your head this evening.
I'm climbing in age. Don't let the face fool you.
Yeah, so it's good to have you tonight, and we do hope
It's,
that someone would be blessed by you sharing your faith here on Whispering Hope. Tonight, do you care to share with us your early upbringing, early growth in your community, your school life, your life in general, as a teenager,
mm,
as I'm going into adolescence? You care to share that with us tonight?
okay. Let me first say good evening to your listening public and your guest, the persons who you've actually your program is actually reaching. It's a pleasure being on your program. And again, let me just say thank you. My
It's a
upbringing,
pleasure
wow.
to have you too.
Thank you, thank you. My upbringing, I wish to say that my upbringing was fairly normal, if you want to put it that way. I was I wasn't a rude child, but I was very troublesome. I will tell you that much. My mom will actually say that I was one of those young boys that couldn't really stay still for too long. And so I grew up in the village of Sutherlands. That's just on the opposite side of Clay Hall. And so my pretty much my stomping ground was in Sutherland, Scourge Pasture, Clay Hall, Johnson, that area. And so in growing up there, I remember having a very strict, if you want to put it, strict mom. My mom and my dad got divorced, I think probably when I was about 7 or 8. I can't remember the exact date. But I do remember my mom being the mom and father, for me, especially a boy like myself who has a lot of energy. She always had to keep me, under the reins. But at the same time, I loved the whole spiritual platform that my mom introduced us to from a very tender age. I have two sisters with my mom, between my mom and my dad, and I also have an older brother who is much more older than us. That's my dad's child, and then my dad remarried, and he has a son and a daughter. So in total, I have a bunch of siblings. Nonetheless, I remember my upbringing with my two siblings and my two sisters, with my mom and my dad, being pretty normal. We attended the Clay Hall Seventh Adventist Church that was in the Clay Hall area, where most persons might consider it to be called Bosnia. And growing up in those days, you literally had to be strong, because in the Clay Hall area, that was no joke. So I pretty much, outside of my mom, I pretty much had some elders, if you want to put it that way, in the village who taught me a lot about life. Of course, they were not Seventh Adventists, but at the same time, I appreciated the counsel that a number of them instilled in me. Went to the Foundation Mixed School, graduated from there, and I went off to grammar school. I was fortunate to be chosen within, I think well, at that time, I think it was a top 10, sorry, the top 100 or top 60 to be chosen to go
It
to
was a
grammar
top
school.
60 at that time. So you
Top
were
60?
super good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I didn't study. I still don't study. I just have that ability to see something inside of a book and automatically I will remember it. But I went off to grammar school. Unfortunately, as I said, I was not the easiest of child. I didn't really, I didn't play fair, if you want to put it that way. And so during my first year of grammar school, I got kicked out. And this is the interesting part. You know, I'm sorry, go ahead. You were
No,
saying
I
something?
was saying a thing, but basically, it's interesting. It's interesting that you consider yourself to be a tough guy growing up. Um, so
I had
yes. So growing up that way, growing up in the Seventh-day Adventist home and being a tough guy,
hmm,
or in that regard, or someone who is like most boys, we give a little trouble in those early years. Um, how did you come in contact with Jesus as your personal Lord and Savior? It's one thing to be a Seventh-day Adventist, but it's another thing to fall in love with Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior. Can you remember when that was and how it happened?
I'll be honest with you, and I'm, for some persons, it might astonish them as to what I'm about to say, but believe it or not, I never fell in love with God until probably 2012. Believe it or not, I like pretty much all Christian young men. We take a little while to find our footing, and so growing up, I sang with my sisters, and we would sing all around Antigua, outside of Antigua. And so, you grew up with this ear of ego, that egoism,
Yes.
where everybody's lauding you with all the praises, and about how good you sound. And then, of course, I moved from there and I started singing with full grace, and that even made it worse. Shout out to all my brothers for full grace: Ali, Devon, which we call Mass, Vincy, and Andre. I enjoy the opportunity to sing with them, but I I did not find God until realistically 2012. And then even after that, there's another story to that. But going off to college even made my process more difficult, because my life in Antigua um, just progressed to be more, in a sense, downhill, moving off to the United States to study. And so I did not find, even after coming back from college, I did not find God or the appreciation of God until, as I said, 2012, thereabout, where I was faced with this unmovable object that I realized I could not move on my own. And the only thing I could have done at that point in time was just to say, Lord, I don't know where you've been all my life. I don't know where I have been, but I know I've been searching for something that is much more than what I can do for myself. And it so happened that, one stumbling block, of course, turned into another, turned into another, turned into another. But the beautiful thing is, although I was enduring all of these stumbling blocks, there was a lesson that I was being taught throughout the entire process. And so it came to the point of me. That's 2012. I remember that I got the opportunity to start studying theology. I always wanted to study the Bible. And it's interesting. And this is the part that, especially when I tell the story, as a Seventh-day Adventist, a lot of persons would, cringe because they hear me say what I often say at this point in time. Um, I attended a non-Seventh-day Adventist theological seminary. And a lot of persons looked at that and wondered, why, Sean, why you're Seventh-day Adventist? Um, Growing up, I always heard about the difference in theological beliefs. And I always wanted, as my mom was a youth leader, and she would always explain a number of things to us. But, as children, we always want to learn our way. And so I took the opportunity to study, and it was a ways into my studies that I started truly appreciating God. I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking
Right.
about understanding God for
Yep.
myself. And
Absolutely.
so yeah, and I realized at that point in time that I needed to have a personal relationship with God. Not It was not about my mom, it was not about my friends, it was not about the eldership, it was not about the church. It was really and truly about God and God alone. And so after I graduated, and it's interesting because some persons would they tend to grind me even up to today, because I attended a non-Seventh Adventist theological seminary, but yet still I graduated valedictorian of a non-Seventh Adventist seminary, which is odd in a sense because our theology is so much different from theirs. But then during the process, I realized that, and I was teased at the seminary, of course, the only Seventh Adventist. But at the same time, it was at that point in time I realized how much God was taking me on a totally different journey. And bear in mind, I was already a youth leader in the Seventh Adventist Church. But the appreciation of who God is, was, and what he was supposed to mean in my life wasn't truly there. And so again, went through all that process. But it's, as I said, it was in 2012, and then segue to 2015 that I really and truly found God.
That's an eye opener for me because as a young
For
man,
many.
growing up, I was a little more, I was more advanced in age, but I can remember you young guys, and there were people who emulated you and looked up to
Wow.
you at that point in your life, especially being a
Yeah.
part of Four Grace.
For grace. Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
So even though you said that you were not in direct, had not met Christ for yourself and have a personal relationship with Him, whatever you were doing then, the passion that you put into your ministry in music really motivated others. But we're going to get back to that. Just one follow-up question from the information I just got is that theological seminary.
mhm.
What would you say it would have done to you as a Seventh-day Adventist, being able
Oh
to
wow.
compare? Um,
Mhm.
did it open your knowledge to recognize that this is the truth, or
Mhm.
there is so much different you can do get a comparison? I don't know
Mhm.
based on that, but I just had I figured that there's some information that you have that I would never have because I didn't experience it.
It's interesting because, as I said, I have a lot of friends of mine who are Seventh Adventists and also who are non-Seventh Adventists. And I'll be honest with you, majority of my friends, and when I say friends, I mean my bona fide friends, the ones who I know can literally hold me down 24/7, they're non-Seventh Adventists. And we've always had this conversation about why is it that I attended a non-Seventh Adventist seminary over a Seventh Adventist seminary? And I won't necessarily get into all of those nitty-gritties, but what I will actually say is that in attending the WISC School of Theology, what I learned was the true appreciation of that four-letter word called LOVE. And a lot of times we tend to take it for granted, even in the Seventh Adventist Church. And growing up in the Seventh Adventist Church, I've never been to any other or have affiliations to any other denomination other than the Seventh Adventist Church. And so growing up in the Seventh Adventist Church, one of our greatest push is fellowship and love. And I just realized that over a period of time that I started seeing the the expression of what is supposed to be love slowly dwindle out of the door. And I kept on wondering what was it that was missing. Um, when I attended the seminary, I soon started, and this is why I said to you that I literally found God at the seminary, because I was introduced to God again, but I was introduced God at a different time in my life. And it's not because I went to that seminary, it's because that I guess at that point in time, God saw it fitting to have some people literally sit me down and explain to me why it is that I was going through the things that I was actually was going through at the point in time. And I literally sat and listened. And even going through that, I came to appreciate their beliefs. I appreciated it because for me, it was not about looking at Adventist or Seventh-day Adventist versus Pentecostal or Seventh-day Adventist versus Baptist or any other religion. It really and truly was about the love of God and understanding people for who they are, and meeting them for where they are. And so I came to appreciate that. And at that point in time, in 16, I'm sorry, I was already knee deep in youth ministry. But at the same time, in having dialogue on a daily basis with my colleagues and with my professors at, at the seminary, it allowed me to understand that God still has a place for you, even though you look and sound different from me. And the Bible tells me, and I often tell persons, you might not side with what it is that I say. When I study for me, and I hope and pray that what it is that I understand, and when I listen to some of my leaders around the Seventh Adventist and even outside of the Seventh Adventist Church, that I can understand what it is that God is trying to impart in me, so that I can impart in other individuals. But what I came to realize as a Christian was the fact that God is calling me to educate others who are not sounding like me, who don't understand like me. And the Bible tells me that He has many, many, not a few. He has a number of persons who are not of my persuasion. And so who am I to literally look on the Pentecostal, look down on the Pentecostal just because they are a part of a different religious body? Or who am I to say that the Baptists are not going to heaven? And so I started truly understanding the methodology of Jesus's ministry in having dialogue, not only of my own religious kind, but outside of it. And that's what I would actually say. I tend not to play the in some respects the political back and forth with religion, because I don't necessarily like that behavior. But at the same time, I love to explain to persons what it is that I found when I interacted with persons outside of my religious body.
Interesting, interesting. Um, and basically, it's something that most people would say that they can understand. Most people would say that they can understand because we're based on some theologies that we have that are not embraced as yet by persons of different faith. Those things that they embrace, they generally seek to be passionate about it, love,
Yeah,
salvation,
yeah,
and
yeah,
those things. So
yeah,
those are good things. So
yeah.
basically, when you said you discovered between 2012, 2015, how did your friends who knew you, and some people today now hearing this for the first time, they're gonna have a different viewpoint. How did they
That's
take
all
it?
right. That's all right.
How did they take it now
Um,
that Sean is going
yeah.
to be a new man? After all these years, Sean is saying, this is when I found God.
You know the interesting thing about it is that while I was undergoing a retransformation, and I often use that when I'm speaking about my spiritual journey, a retransformation. Many individuals, 99% of my friends and my church members, colleagues alike, did not know I was studying. The only individuals who knew I was actually ardently studying the ministry was my mom, my two sisters, probably two of my really good friends. Um, at the time, my wife, um, and wow. And one pastor in the Seventh Adventist Church, who I literally confided in because I wanted to find out, if I was going too far. And so when I completed my studies, it's interesting because my entire methodology changed. Um, I tend even before that to be more, I would say, aggressive. Um, After that point, I became very passive. Not passive mean laid back and don't care, but passive in a sense where a number of things didn't trouble me anymore. I heavily relied on God because I knew for a fact that at that point in time, I did not, well, prior to that, I thought I knew what God was calling on me to do. I thought I knew what God was shaking my chains. Why he was shaking my chains, I only found that out then. So even a number of persons only found out that I, one, was a part of theological training or was going in because I think it was last year they actually saw a posting on Facebook, which I didn't post it. Facebook just, I guess, on an anniversary of my studies, they posted the fact that Sean is currently in theological seminary. And in my mind, I was like, huh? I didn't know. I thought I finished. I didn't
Right.
realize that I was still in there. Granted, I was still doing additional studies
Right.
because I always wanted to go on to my master's degree and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, nobody, and even up until now, I would say probably about 99% of persons who know me and don't know me, but have just seen me in the Seventh Adventist Church, still do not know and probably would only know now that
Well, a
I
few more will
studied
know after
theology.
tonight.
And God bless this. So some persons I know, and because let me tell you, it's because of our tradition, our culture in the Seventh Adventist Church is that once you're not schooled within the halls of a Seventh-day Adventist theological seminary, you are not in their eyes representative. You shouldn't be a representative of in a sense the word in our halls of the church. I don't conform to that behavior or that thinking. So I really cannot say. But again, it's totally up to persons to appreciate or not appreciate. I am a wholesome man and a happy man because I found God in another hall of the spiritual teaching.
Right. God has different roads that He leads
Yeah.
His people, and the road that He
Mhm.
takes you through may not be the road that He chooses to
Yeah.
take me through. So
Yes,
persons
sir.
must be appreciative of those things. Um, uh, Obviously, you're energized, you keep yourself
Mm.
active, and you're involved in the youth ministry. What
Yes,
are
sir.
some of the things you do personally to keep you focused and
Mm.
in touch with your maker that makes you strong,
Mm.
spiritually strong? What are some of those things you do?
There are probably about three things I do, and I'll list them out like this. One, I stay very actively engaging in writing my inner thoughts to God. A lot of persons would know in 2014, I started this devotional called Broken Crayons. And after a point in time, I stopped publishing it because I realized that God was really working on me, and He was trying to get me to talk to Him. And I'm a little bit different. It's not. Some persons would be able to get up in the morning and just go into a deep season of prayer, and it would last for hours and hours and hours. I have not been able to do that. It's just not my way of talking to Him. So what He has actually called me to do to speak to Him is penning my words on paper to Him. And so in that process, I get to talk to God and He gets to talk to me. And I really and truly appreciate that. That's one of the first things. Two, I share the word a lot in different ways. And a lot of people would see me, on Facebook and WhatsApp and those kind of things there, and passionately saying certain things or doing certain things, but that's not even my valiant push. I tend to have a lot of friends who have fallen off the beaten path. You know, a lot of persons on drugs, persons who are prostitutes, persons who are uh, ex criminals, ex prisoners, and those kind of persons. And believe it or not, those are the individuals who I tend to have a lot of conversation around. And a lot of people don't ever see me. You know, if you do see me, you're seeing me at a function for church. You're seeing me um, at a church, at a function for church. And so most of the time that's when you see, or you see me driving on the road. But majority of the time I spend a lot of it having a lot of dialogue with persons who are broken. And the third part of it is that I formed an organization called Motivate Change a few years ago. And of course, I have never really published it until last year. And Motivate Change is about really and truly speaking to persons and allowing them to realize that there's more than their brokenness. There's more than the issues. The issues don't define you, and the issue is not who you are. The issue is just a byproduct of your brokenness. And so a drug addict is not who you are. It's just something that you suffer from. The addiction is something that you suffer from. It's not who you are. And so I try my best to help persons to be able to enjoy, or not necessarily enjoy, but accept their brokenness, accept their situation. But let's together find ways and means of getting you across the road from that situation so that we can get you to the place where there's healing. And I think that's a lot of times where even our young people in the church, and again, I'm a part of the youth ministry, so I see that on a daily basis where we have a number of young people who are so broken, and they automatically think that there is no hope. And the whole notion is they're looking at the thing that they're doing as their problem, and they're not realizing that that is not your problem. That's just a thing that has been given to you or has been shown to you by the devil because you're so weak and you're so broken. And so if we can, and of course I'm speaking about myself, if we can really and truly allow you to appreciate the fact that, listen, you got a problem, you literally have an issue. Let us identify that you have an issue, and then we can move on from there. So those are the three things that help me to stay grounded in God. And I often tell persons that I really don't care for the spotlight. It's not me. It has never been me. I guess probably years ago I relished the spotlight, but as I got to my 30s, I realized that, you know what, this is not even important to me anymore. I really don't care for it anymore. All I want to do is just help people. And I remember after probably about 2 years ago, well, 3 years ago, I really wanted to go a little bit further. And persons would always say, you know, Sean, you should go and study the ministry. And granted, I did, but not in the Seventh Adventist church. But I never wanted to be a pastor, but I always wanted to be a chaplain. And it so happened that I got the opportunity in 2018 to, no, I'm sorry, not 2018, last year, to start my training to become a chaplain. I completed my training and my certification to be a chaplain, and so now I am a certified chaplain. And there are other things that as I said, I utilize and bring a bunch of persons who are spiritually grounded close to me to keep me grounded, because I'm one of those individuals who I like a lot of things to do. I'm a very creative individual, and sometimes these kind of persons can tend to drift, and they don't even realize that they're drifting. And so with those three things that I do, and bring in persons who are sound, you know, spiritual fathers who are extremely sound, those are the things that I really do to keep me grounded and keep me close to God.
Motivational discussion is an interesting one because most of our young people find motivational development or motivation from sport clubs and in those areas. And some of the people who really motivate them are not trained enough to do that. I think it's something that we could do more of in our church. The gospel is great,
That's true.
but
That's
showing our
true.
young people a way that they're important and they're special is a role that many of us need to decidedly take up and
That is so
carry
true.
with a passion.
That is so true. That is so
Um,
true.
yes, this being in this church and being a part of any organization, but most of the church, where you expect the love, the compassion to be. Has there been an occasion or
Mm.
a situation that has shaken your faith? Something that has shaken your faith and you
Wow.
wonder,
Ooh.
why am I still here?
Ooh. Ooh. Oh my God. Have mercy. Ooh. Now, oh, I had to take off my glasses for this one. Um, wow, where can I start? I mean, and are you speaking about inside the seven adventure in the church itself?
Oh, in the church, in your
Ooh.
Christian walk,
Oh my
even
God.
if you were saying, I didn't find him all the
Mm,
years you were around, and persons probably would have said things they don't even know about you, that
mm,
really would have rubbed you the wrong way or done something to you,
mm.
that caused you to wonder,
Mm.
why am I still here?
You know, it's interesting. I remember when it's in 2000, and well, there are two things that happened. One just about a year ago, and the other one in 2013. I remember that I was selected to be the assistant island coordinator for the Advent Youth Ministry in Antigua, Barbuda, and it's interesting because you expect that the people who you attend church with, and later I realized how Jesus must some portion and point of your life you must go through the Jesus process. You know, you're going to be beaten with many stripes, or people are going to dislike you because of just being you. And so I remember that I was selected, and my very church, there are persons inside of my church that had so many ugly things to say about me. And funny enough, there were things that I did not even know about myself, being on the earth for some 30 plus years, and I did not even know that about myself. And I said to myself, wait,
Wow.
hold on, this is interesting. Is it that you don't like me because now
Mhm.
I have been elevated, and probably you never liked me before? But believe it or not, a number of things that were being said and how I was treated really, really, really shaped me. It got to the point where I literally pulled away from everybody, because at that point in time, I did not. This is the first time that I was ever elevated in a church to an island level. I mean, in a social environment, I've held large positions from an island level and sub new island level, but at the same time in the church. So my expectation that in the church, I was going to be given the
Appreciate
Jesus
it.
speech, and I was going to be helped. I was going to be encouraged and motivated, but it was so far from the truth. And I'll tell you this much. I often hear my mom say, and of course it's inside the Bible too, that you are treated worst by your very kind than the ones who really truly don't know you. And if you don't understand, if you don't have that grounding faith in God, not the religious process, but in God, many things that happen around across the path will move you. They will literally push you. And so, even going through that process, I realized that there were a number of people who were not appreciative of what it is that had called me to do. But then I would always remember my mom say, there are many for you than against you, and you might not be able to see them. The 7,000 that was spoken about, that, I think it was Elijah who actually said that there's so many that, God, there's nobody there. There's
Yes,
nobody there. God said,
Elijah.
look, no,
Yes.
bro, what are you talking about, bro? I got 7,000 right there locked up in a position there. Yo, all you got to do is just talk, and I'm gonna come through. But you see, that was my situation. I thought that no, my back was against the wall, and nobody was there to support me. And it so happened that God raised up some people from different points of leadership, and even up until today, and granted, even up until today, this very day, there are still issues. But you know what? I've learned over the past years to not allow um, those situations to define my walk with God. Even, and a number of persons know that they would still think that, of course, they've seen me, and some person would have heard, that I'm married and all that kind of stuff. And so I I remember I think it was just at the beginning of the year, when persons found out that I was divorced. I had never told anybody anything. Um, and some persons started having a number of conversations within themselves. And I'm not the very responsive type of person. I don't respond um, to things that I hear. I am one of those individuals who, if you want to say it, you say, that's your business. It really doesn't move me. And all of my friends will tell you that Sean is one of the most don't care individuals when it comes to persons talking. Because again, you didn't say it to me. And as I often tell persons, if you really want to help me, come talk to me. If you see something that I did or I said that you really want to affect my life with a good word, a positive word, come talk to me, chill out with me, hear my story, and know exactly what it is, so that at least you can talk to me. And so when a number of persons, even inside the church, found out that I was divorced, a number of persons had so many things to say. It even got to the point where persons were saying that, I need to be moved from my position as island coordinator. And it's just interesting because some of the individuals who were talking were my friends,
Wow.
were my were my friends. And it made me so conscious that, you know what, Sean, they did it to Jesus. So, bro, they're gonna do it to you too. So don't even worry about it. And so for me, it's the journey is sometimes bittersweet. And as I often like to tell persons, the Christian walk is bitter. The Christian walk is brutal, but
So
the
true.
Christian walk is a blessing if you
Amen.
understand to whom you belong. And that's all you need to know. If you understand that, oh please, this walk is sweet. It's bitter, but it's sweet. And I love every part of my journey, and I'm looking forward to the other steps, the other platforms, the other conversations that God has positioned me to affect and effect and bring an effect to. And so I love my journey. I love my life, and I love being a beacon of change in people's lives.
Yes. So when you look back at your youthful age and your adolescent age, and you look at from 2012 to now,
Yeah.
what's the comparison?
Ooh, comparison. 2012,
What would you say is
um,
the difference?
2012, I was broken. 2020, I found my purpose. I still suffer from some broken situation, but I found my purpose. And my purpose is hidden, is buried, and is broadcasted in one single person, and it's God. So 2012, broken, didn't understand where it is that I was going, though I was educated, though I had these things, though I had the support from family and friends, had some monies in my pocket, but I did not understand purpose. And so 2020, I have a better understanding of where I stand, but it's because I understand my purpose. I understand where it is that God is bringing me and how He's bringing me to the place that I need to be. Um, not God has given me so many opportunities to impact change, and show persons. I was saying to a sister that attend your church, she was actually saying to me, I was talking to her about something, and probably when she listens to this program, she'll know who she is. I was talking to her just, I think it's like about 2 weeks ago, and she was embarking on something, and her response was, "Oh my God, you sound like a life coach." And I said, I smiled and I said, well, just to let you know, I'm a certified life coach. I got my life coach certification just a few months ago. And so these are a number of things that I have been on a path to achieving, because I really wanted to make Sean Joseph a more rounded, a more passionate individual on not just living, but I really wanted to see change in people. And so even with that, I did a training, a diplomatic training, I think it was last year. I did 2018 to 2019. And I got a call a few months ago to let me know that I was able to take part in a high level training to become a United Nations peace ambassador. And I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it, because there were a number of training that were running concurrently. And when I spoke to the ambassador, I asked how would I be able to do it. It so happened that without me raising a finger, all of the things were set up for me, and that's God. That's God. All of the things were set up for me. I went through the training, completed the training, and so now I am a United Nations peace ambassador. And it's the platforms are just getting higher and higher. And for me, as I often tell persons, my walk on earth is to be a humanitarian. I don't really care much about the blue collar or white collar type jobs and those kind of things. I always like getting my hands dirty to help other people. And so if God can position me tomorrow to even leave the island, and I mean, that is going to happen, but when that happens, that will happen. Everybody will know about that. But when God positions me to help other people, and it doesn't even make a difference if it's in the city or in my backyard, across the ways or at church, I just want to help. And it's not with a cost. It's just that my heart and my love and my passion digs deep for helping people.
Okay. It's becoming increasingly more popular, more frequent. You meet people who say to you, I don't believe in this Jesus thing, this God thing. Um, so quit telling me about it. What would you say to someone who says, I don't believe there's a God or believe in any God?
Ah, wow. I my entire life is it's a true story book, and at the same time it's a black and white painting with dashes of color. I remember when I left Antigua, I got caught up in the gangs, and so I had the mentality leaving Antigua, that bad boy mentality, and I've always embraced it. I've never shun away from it. But leaving Antigua, I had all of my friends who were deep in the gangs, and so of course I got initiated into the gang, and I became an active member. And a number of things that I did, I'm not pleased of them, but at the same time I'm here today. And so I get a lot of opportunities to tell people that if it was not for God, and I make no apologies about it, if it was not for God, I would not be here. I had a best friend who, at this present point in time, he's lying in a grave because of choices. I chose God. Um, Seventh-day Adventist, he is. Well, he was. AY leader, he was. Deacon, he was. We all took the same path. But when we all got to the junction, I guess we took different paths. And the reason that I took another path is because of his death. And so sometimes God does God does some interesting things, and he upsets the apple cart because he realized that if he leaves it to you, you won't do the right thing. And so sometimes he has to end a friend's life, a partner's life, a homeboy's life that you're so close with that you would not sever ties with because you're so close. And so I would tell that individual, you know, just try something else. You've tried so many things. I mean, you've tried drugs, you've tried lying, you've tried promiscuous lifestyle, you've tried homosexuality, you've tried so many different things. Answer me this question: is it working? Drugs, is it working? Homosexuality, is it working? Lying, cheating, stealing, are these things working? I can guarantee you the answer is going to be no. And if perchance that you're probably slinging dope on the street corner and you're making some greens, guess what? It's going to end soon. Mine did. So my thing here is, if you tried all of these things and some of them worked, but they didn't work continuously, why not just try God? Try something else that guaranteed to work. I'm not asking if it's going to work. It's going to work. It's going to take some time to get you from point A to point B, but I can guarantee you it's going to work. And all you need but to do is just accept the fact that, this is what we spoke about earlier, accept the fact that you're broken, accept the fact that you need help, accept the fact that I need to surrender all, not just some, but surrender everything to that higher being called God. And in surrendering it, allow him to do some things in your life. If you do that, I can guarantee you without a shadow of a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, and I'm not even second guessing this, without a shadow of a doubt, it will change. But you have to have patience. That's all. Just have patience, but know for a fact that within your walk with God, everything will be made right, but in his time. Just have patience with the process.
And there are some people who are losing faith, have lost
Yeah.
faith in the church because of
Ooh.
people they've grown up with, leadership in the church, leadership at the higher levels of the church,
Wow.
who they figure have been tough on them, and they do
Mm.
not want to hear anything about the church. What would be your
Mm.
words to them?
Um, put not your faith in man, but anchor your faith in God.
Amen.
Um, the Bible tells me about a story, and I love the story of um Jesus walking on a path. He sees a well in front of him, and in the middle of the day, he looks and he sees a woman who at that time shouldn't be on the street, because at the custom of the land, she's supposed to be at home. But he looks and he sees this woman, and he gets up to the well, and he sees that she has watering pots, and she's going to fetch some water. And he says to her, can I have some water? And she looks at him like, are you nuts? You I mean, you crazy? No. Do you know who I am? And so in church, a lot of us ask the question, do you know who I am? And I like what God says right back to us. It's not about who you are, because I know your rap sheet. I know your story. I know everything about you. It's about me. It's
Amen.
about what I can do for you. You see, I got some water. See the water that I'm asking you for? That's just that's trivial. I was just testing you to see if you would give me something. So you literally passed the first test. But what I'm going to give you is living water. This water you will never thirst again. He never said to me about worrying about the people in the village, in the church, that's going to say bad things about you. All he said is, come to me, all he that labor, all you, all she, all them, all they that labor and are heavy laden. And guess what? I'm going to give you some rest. You don't need to worry about anything else, but just come. Don't worry about how broken down the pew is. I mean, hey, we can go to veg and go buy some lumber, knock some things up. You could sit on. You might get cut, but I mean, hey, that's life. The floor might be broken, and guess what? We probably go masonry products, throw some concrete on there. Might not last for too long, but I mean, we could get past it. But he said, come. Don't worry about the people. Don't worry about the scribes and the Pharisees. Don't worry about all them people who, when you reach to the corner, because you've been doing some dirt last year and year after, year before the last, and you gave your life to Christ, and now you're walking across looking all prim and proper, and you get there and you go like, and they say like, oh, look at she, no, look at he this. Don't worry about them, man. God said, come to me. Keep your eyes on me. Focus on me. Don't look at anybody else, because the church, the people, they ain't perfect. They're broken just like me and you. So if you're gonna look at them, you've already lost the path, or you've already gotten off the path, and you've already lost that sight contact with him. Take your eyes off of them for a second. Put it back on the author, the finisher of your faith. And he's going to turn your faith around. I like the song. He's going to work in your favor around and around. And so I love that. I really, really love that. And so God is just calling us. And no matter how broken we are, no matter how destitute we are, no matter how prostituted we are in our ministry, that he's calling all of us to take our eyes off of that thing, that lust, that ignorance, and focus it on him. Just focus. 2020 focus. 2020 focus on him.
We're winding down, but it's interesting. It's captivating. The young people, all the interviews I've done, they have been amazing. There's a lot, and there's so much that people share that can really, sometimes when we look at our experience, we realize, there's so much more and people are making it. And so, but the one question that everybody looks at and have different varying response to is, what would you have done differently? Looking back at where you were, where you are now, what would you have changed? Done different.
Okay. I'm known to be a very colorful character when I answer my questions. Yeah, you will never know my answer, and I can guarantee you that. Okay, here's my answer. Nothing. Not one earthly thing. I'll tell you why. Someone asked me this question at Bible school. They asked me this question, and I mean, it was a debate that went on for days. Oh my goodness, I think I disrupted the whole semester because I said nothing. And I'll tell you why I said nothing. God brought me here for a reason. He allowed me to go through my hiccups, my burdens, my falls, my disruptions, my pitfalls for a reason. I made those mistakes for a reason. Why? Because I wasn't grounded. Had it been that I was grounded, my story would have probably turned out a totally different way. It could have been better, but guess what? I don't know. I really don't know. And so I live my life one day at a time. Had you asked me that question probably 5 years ago or 10 years ago, probably my answer would have been different. But I've walked this journey. I understand that life is not, it's really and truly not about the journey that you did not travel yesterday. It's about where God took you from and brought you to today. Not yesterday. Yesterday's story is done gone a long time. My story is embedded in my right now. And so if I did not learn from my yesterday is not even it's totally pointless. It does not mean anything. And that's for me. I can only speak for Sean. And so I live my life according to the rule of whatever he gives me right now is whatever I'm going to eat and I'm going to chew on. I can't chew on yesterday's food. That done spoiled, done gone, done rotten. I can't do anything with that. So for right now, I can appreciate what it is that I have in before me right now. And so for what I'm seeing at this point in time, I wouldn't change anything because I love the story. I love the beating that I love the pitfalls. Some of them were difficult. Some of them were hard, man. Some of them were beautiful. I ain't gonna lie. But at the same time, I love my story right now. And that's why I said to you that my life is like a beautiful black and white painting with some dashes of color. A dash of color here, dash of color there. It's not all filled with color. But I love my story. And I'm not gonna trade my story for anything. So the could have, the should have, and the might haves, fine in someone else's book, but not mine. I'm fine. I'm fine with mine, and I love my story. I just want Jesus to come, man.
Amen. Amen.
I'm tired. I'm really, really tired. I'm really tired, and I want to see him. I want to see, some of my forefathers that paved the way for me, and I'm talking about in my lifetime, that are long gone, and I miss them, and I want to see them, man. I really want to see them, and my aim and determination is not to live a good life right now. My aim and determination is to empower some people to come with me to heaven. That's what it's all about. It's not about just living a good life. That's not enough. That God did not call you to just live a good life. He said, you know what? I'm leaving you down here to take care of some broken people. They're ugly, they're stupid, they're foolish. Guess what? They're just like you. Look in the mirror, they're just like you. But all I need you to do is to teach, preach. We gonna figure out the baptizing part. We gonna figure out if they're ready for that, and we gonna do something with them. And all I need you to do is tell them to just do the very same thing to some people. And so that's all he's calling us to do. Preach, teach. The Holy Spirit gonna do the rest.
Well, I'm not going to let you go until you answer these two questions. And that they are one, all of us
Okay,
have
go ahead.
that scripture or passages of
Mm.
scriptures that when we're down, we cling to. We call them our favorite texts. Do you want to share your favorite text with us tonight?
Oh, you caught me off guard, man. Cause I got so many of them. Okay, well, you know what? I love I love the 23rd Psalm, and anybody who knows me would always hear me, they would always hear me grab the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall, and I love that part. Ooh, I love that part. It goes on a little bit further, but I love that part. The Lord is my shepherd. I, Sean Joseph, this broken, messed up lump of clay, as my brother Jonathan Moreno would say, that messed up lump of clay, I shall not want. All I need but to do is just to lean on him. I don't need the money. I don't need the accolades. I don't need the positions. I don't need you to tell me that I can speak well or I can sing well or I'm lazy. I don't need you to tell me none of those things. The Bible tells me the Lord is my shepherd. Well, guess what? He was talking to me. If you don't want to claim him, that's your business. But for me and my household, which my household is made up of one, Sean Joseph, for me and my household, he says, he is mine. The Lord is my shepherd. He leads me to the path of ugly, sits beside me by brooks when my whole day is just going totally haywire. And guess what he says? When you're down in your mess and your ugly situations, this is what he says. He comforts. Woo! What? He comforts me. Yea, though I walk But even though all those things happen, you go like, okay, yeah. I like that part, but this is the part I love. Yo, bro, man, you comfort me. The Lord comforts me. And so I'm happy. 23rd Psalm, that's my scripture every single day. And I tell persons that if you want me to go all biblical on you, just start saying the 23rd Psalm. I'm gonna go through every particular verse, and we're gonna make that a true Bible study. Ooh, don't get me started now. There's gonna be church in here.
Beautiful verse. And then the final question is your favorite song. What is your favorite song?
Ooh,
that song that keeps you when you're down and out, when you feel like that can just bring you back to life, my brother.
Wow. You know, it's interesting because the very my music just for a whole.
Yes, good. Those are our two surprise questions every time.
One of the best songs that will ever be able, and it's for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to hear below, they own, but he is strong. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. The Bible tells me so. That's my song.
Well, Sean, it was a pleasure. I've learned so much tonight. Some things
It was
I
a
just
pleasure
never
too, my
knew
brother.
about you, but it was a privilege sitting and listening to your journey.
Thank you.
All I can say is that God has been good to you, and brother, I want to keep you. I want to keep you in my prayers also. You've been a young man who I've seen growing up all along, being with the church, and I know all of us have our pitfalls, but you really impressed me with the way you have ministered in the church. And I always agree on all the approaches, but that's life.
Yes,
You've been at a good mind.
Yes,
but certainly, I am one of the persons who stick to your ministry and really appreciate what you have been doing with our young people, and not only for our young people, but for yourself. Because Paul says, lest when we preach to others, we ourselves come cast away. And so I want to thank you for your ministry, and we want to thank you for your testimony tonight on Share Your Faith. May God continue to bless you as you walk this way.
Thank you, my brother.
You have a wonderful night.
Thank you, my brother. And thank you to your listening audience. It was a pleasure. Truly a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being on Share Your Faith.
God bless. God bless.